Run.
I know they've been developing Wolfman for a while. I don't know when Jason got involved. I'm not sure when you got involved.
Mm.
Did you go to Jason with an idea? Did he come to you and ask for an idea? What was sort of like how did this come about?
There was really Jason and Universal came to me and suggested this Wolfman character, and I was a little resistant to it at first because I had just done Invisible Man, but to me, the central idea of how I'm going to approach something is usually the thing that locks me onto a movie. So once I had this idea of shifting perspectives and being inside the wolf world, that was it. After that, I was like, well, I really want to make this film.
Now, was that the stuff at the beginning about the indigenous myths? Is that any of that true or come from reality, or is that
Yeah,
just
no, it
something
was.
that's
I guess it was the world that I was building. These wolf creature myths are really common in different cultures. You find them. So I guess I was just trying to create a sense of that particular community that we were in, as opposed to like digging into some real life myth.
Gotcha? Yeah, yeah. What's interesting because when you put the words wolf and man together, there's obviously so many things that people think of. There's so many tropes.
Mm.
There's the full moon. There's no full moon aspect to this movie. There's nothing. It's very. It does change. And also one of the things is a family. The family is something we don't. I'm not sure I've ever seen a werewolf movie with family as a central part of it.
Yeah,
Were those all kind of part of your original pitch or idea that came out to you?
yeah. I mean, I was thinking about how I would approach this character, and I felt there was the first draft was written during COVID, and it was, as you would remember, it was such an isolating time, very unsettling. We're all in our homes. Life was just changing right in front of our eyes. It was such a disruptor. So I just felt very attached to this story of a family in isolation. That became my focus, and that was what was on my mind. I had a young family, and I wanted to focus the movie around that so that the relationships between the family would be the core of the film.
Yeah. No, I remember Invisible Man was one of the last movies I saw right before the movie theater shut down for a year in New York. Because
Yes.
New York, they shut down everything for a year, even though you can go across the river to New Jersey, see something, Connecticut.
See something, right? Exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people have said that. The posters were up for a long time. I remember
Oh, yeah.
in Los Angeles, like, 8 months later, there were still these Invisible Man posters up. That was very surreal.
Yeah. Was Peacock around by that point? It must have been, right? I guess Peacock started, I guess, a little later. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
it,
remember.
it
Yeah.
seemed like
Yeah.
I'm not sure myself. I don't
Yeah.
pay attention usually to things like that, but I certainly know that streaming ramped up that year. All of a sudden,
Oh, yeah.
streaming was what everybody was doing because we were all at home.
So how did you end up on with Christopher and Julia as the two leads? And I want to talk about the little girl too, but let's talk about them first, I guess.
That they were just names that Chris was one of the very first names that was suggested to me by a friend, and I've always loved his work. I loved his work in Possessor and his work in James White. He just seems like this very artist forward actor, and he was always there. We were talking about other people, but Chris's name was on the list, and then I went and saw him do a play in New York, and he was so incredible in the play. I emailed everyone at Universal and said we have to cast this guy. He's our guy. And then with Julia, I just knew her work as well. I was a fan of hers. With her, it was a matter of will she say yes to us?
Mm.
We were feeling like we would be lucky to have her, and I knew they'd make a great couple in the film. Their acting talent is so great. Just pairing them up, I was so excited about.
And Chris has this aspect. He has a bit of a Lon Chaney thing, a little bit of the kind of angst-ridden thing to him naturally, which I kind of caught later. I was like, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
he does. He does. I mean, he's such a brilliant performer. I knew his version of the wolf would be interesting for sure.
And I mean, how'd you go about developing the look of the Wolfman and like how you wanted to approach it? And
Um, I essentially had an idea in my head of the world that I would be in. But I didn't have it exactly down in my mind. Like this is it. But I could see images floating through my head. Wasn't until I met Arian Tushin, who's the brilliant makeup designer. He and I instantly locked in about what I was trying to do, and he was so he's been wanting to do a Wolfman movie his whole life. He was so dedicated to this, and it was basically conversations between Aryan and I, and we never wavered. It wasn't as if he had to try out 30 different things before I said that's the one. It was he's such a great artist that I could just describe the feeling I was going for, and he could create it with clay. And yeah, it was brilliant. We were in sync the whole time.
And another trope you got away from is the classic like let's show the transformation, let's just show it over, you know, let's just
You're right.
a minute. Like it's classic. I mean, that's the original Wolfman is a classic makeup thing. It was kind of like
Yeah,
paved the
the
way,
Jack Pierce makeup. Yeah,
paved the way for decades and hundreds of years of that. But you did shy away from that. You want to just kind of like not have them going back and forth, back and forth.
yeah. I mean, I did. I really wanted to slow it down. I wanted it to feel more like a disease that was transforming him. I wanted to lean into the body horror of it.
Mm.
I felt like that was a version of this I hadn't seen, but I felt like that version was just as valid. You know, there so many people have taken a bite out of this myth and depicted it different ways. We've seen werewolves in comedies, in animated kids films. We've seen all sorts of iterations of this myth. So
Mm.
I felt like my version was just as valid, the sort of more grounded, tragic version.
Well, I also wanted to ask about casting Matilda and working with her. I mean, obviously, I mean, there were kids in the Insidious movies. I think you've acted them. I can't remember
Yes,
if Insidious 3 had. I mean, she had, you had like a little older, like an older actress, but this is a younger, much younger. Can you talk about casting
yeah,
her and working with her?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, a child actors are often hard to find because you're not searching through a list of names. There's not a whole bunch of celebrity child actors. It's not about that. It's about finding someone who can be emotionally authentic. So we just churned through so many different auditions. I mean, Terry Taylor, who's a brilliant casting director, her and Ali and Sarah at Blumhouse casting, they're so dedicated to finding these people who haven't had their break yet. And they're just really generous, loving casting directors, which you don't always find. The classic myth about the casting director is that icy, detached person that, what's the scene from True Romance? Where,
Oh,
you remember the scene where she's like, you're a very fine actor. That's the image of casting directors out there. And as when I was acting, I certainly met them. They are out there. But Terry's so different and everyone at Blumhouse is so different. So they were really connecting with these young girls, getting them to do their best. But Matilda was the one that stood out. She just seemed to have everything we wanted. She checked every box. And she's obviously such a beautiful, cute child, and you want to protect her. But she's so real. There's nothing studied about her. She hasn't. She doesn't have that overly trained uh child actor thing. You can't, there's not a stage mother in the background micromanaging her. She's just a very real little girl from the UK. So she just checked every box, and when she got to set, I think she just held her own with these two great actors. A child actor could have easily been overwhelmed by them, but she just wasn't. It was that was one of my favorite parts of making the film, was working with her.
mm. It was funny you talked about casting. I was thinking of the player, Altman's player, where Bruce Willis and Julianne Moore in every movie, cast in every movie. I was thinking of that more in that sense. Less casting,
Right,
but so yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Now, as a filmmaker, you have to be careful when working with a younger actor as far as like knowing how much to, make sure not to scare them, and or is she kind of pretty
No, I
brave?
mean, not really. Matilda was so um pragmatic about the whole thing. There was no fear there. She wasn't afraid of Chris in the makeup. I have seen child actors be afraid of um a certain actor. I remember on the first Insidious film, young Ty, who was so great in the movie, he was very young, very young, younger than Matilda, and he was afraid of Joe Bashara and the demon makeup. So I've seen that tricky thing unfold, but Matilda was very much, she was hanging out with the rest of us. She's a very shy, sweet girl, but very mature when it comes to being on set. I think she's got a long future.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a simplicity to the movie that I find kind of refreshing. It's like it's all in one mostly in one location, one night.
Right.
Is that something very like is that was that kind of like appealing to you to kind of not go crazy on all
Yes.
the different things because I feel like a lot of movies go absolutely get so complex and so like hard to follow.
Yeah, I think it was where I was at that time. The first draft of this was written during COVID, and everybody was cut off. You were with your family all the time. You weren't seeing your friends in person. It was very isolating and unnerving. And so I wanted to reflect that. It felt right for this movie. It's not right for every movie, but for this one, it felt right.
Yeah. Now, we haven't spoken in a while. I know you've still been involved with Insidious movies. You've been kind of writing or putting kind of a story. You appear as Specs. I mean, is that still something you kind of keep going? I talked to Patrick. I guess Patrick Wilson was it last year or 2 years ago? I don't know. I think it was last year or maybe it was 2 years ago. I don't know. I spoke to him for the one he directed. But are you still pretty much
Mm.
involved? You still kind of try to
A little bit,
write
yeah.
stuff?
I mean, I like to keep involved with the Insidious movies. I'm not directing them and writing them, but I do like to oversee it and, help out where I can. So, yeah, we'll see if there's another Insidious movie coming down the line.
Yeah. I mean, I assume you'll know about bring back you and Angus if they put it in the next movie or
Right.
not.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we've set sail into the sunset.
Oh wow.
But I still think that the fans still love that franchise, and so I'm happy to be involved and sort of help out when I can.
Yeah. Are you actually doing a TV series based on Upgrade also? Is that something you've been developing?
No, it was in there for a while, but these various projects, they all follow different rivers. For now, that's not happening. It was being pursued for a while, but I loved Upgrade so much. It's a film that's really close to my heart, and I don't mind if it just sits alone. I don't necessarily need to extend that or capitalize on it. I like it just being this unique little um, movie that has is it sits apart, and it's not part of a franchise.
Yeah. What studio released Upgrade? Was it
It
Universal also or
was
no?
yeah, it was Universal
Focus?
and Blumhouse.
Oh, it was okay.
They
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we had Neon helping with the distribution of it and the marketing of it. So it was really fun. I mean, God, what a great experience making that film. I had so much fun.
Mm. You've been working with Jason for so long. I mean, as a producer, I mean, is he pretty much like hands off at this point? He knows you can do what you're doing,
Yeah,
and
he is. I mean,
uh,
his whole business model from the start has been to let filmmakers do what they want to do and stand back. And he stands by his word. A lot of people in Hollywood, they'll say they're going to let you do what you want, but that's not how it pans out. Jason is really like that. What he's interested in is empowering directors, enabling them to do their best work, the craziest idea, the one that's in the drawer. That's his sort of most exciting, place to be. So yeah, he's there to support, but he's not there to micromanage.
you shot this in New Zealand, right? Like the movie?
Yes,
Oh yeah, so it's also you get a little bit of a separation from making a movie in LA. I don't know. Where'd you shoot Invisible Man? Where'd you make that movie?
that was in Sydney.
Oh, that was in Sydney. Okay, so it's still out
Yeah,
there. Okay, yeah, wow.
yeah,
All right,
yeah,
nice.
yep,
Have you
yep.
you you can't tell. You can't tell. It all looks like
Oh, good,
America.
good. Thank
Listen, Lee.
you.
Yeah, Lee. It's so good seeing you, man.
I
Congratulations,
know it's good to
movie.
see you again. Yeah, I always
Hope
like checking in with you on things.
hopefully it won't be another 5 years,
No, I
uh
don't want it to be. I'm raring to go.
and I do hope you do your eventually do your comedy where you bring all the monsters together and have a comedy like
Comedy. Yes.
Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein.
Exactly. Mad
That's
Monster Party.
that's how I got into those monsters was that movie. So Abbott and
Was
Costello meets
Mad
Frank.
Monster Party?
No, Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. That used to
Oh
be
wow. I
that, should-
know.
that,
I
should-
loved that movie
that was
so
on TV
much.
all the time. And you're a kid, you could watch these movies and not be scared of them because they're so
I know, but
funny. Yeah.
that's the same thing for me. That's how I got to know these monsters is through Abbott and Costello. I took the comedian